What is up, Outlap F1 Nation? This is Season 6, Episode 34 of the Outlap F1 podcast, as I am updating that in my title slide right now. It's the 2024, do not ask me to spell Azerbaijan, but that's where we're going. Azerbaijan, a.k.a. the Baku GP. That's a lot easier to say. You've got Andy, and I'm along with my wonderful, lovely co-host, Cody, tonight. It is good to see you, sir. How's it hanging?
Doing all right. Just coming off of a busy weekend. I've seen like 3 concerts now in the last 3 weeks. So I am musiced out for maybe about a month. I love live music, but last one was Weezer. That was a blast.
Nice. I mean, that's right out of my that's kind of my generation. They're still together and apparently still doing well live, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it was great.
Nice. Well, all right. Well, if you found our show, welcome along. As David Croft, who will not be in Baku this weekend, as apparently I've just found out, Harry Benjamin will be doing the international feed F1 coverage, or your ESPN coverage, or your Sky F1 coverage, or whatever, however that's called. That's who you're going to hear this weekend. But you can find our show, as always, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, and, of course, YouTube. At Outlap F1 Podcast is the handle. If you enjoy what you're seeing and you like what you're hearing, if you're on YouTube, you can do as the kids do and smash that subscribe button, or you can leave us a like. And if you're on your favorite podcasting app, specifically Apple Podcasts or Spotify, a 5-star review would go a long way to help us get our content to you that much quicker. You can email the show, as always, chatnow@outlapf1.com. Thank you so much to the people who do continue to support us monetarily, including Dean Warwick, Yuri Dolchester, Paul Weaver, Quentin Warden, Kevin Kelly, Regan Stanzik, Timothy Brown, and, of course, Jonathan Scott. We do have a link if you'd like to become a member of that hashtag Outlap F1 Nation, $5. You get a shout out on basically every episode from now until eternity if you want to do that. And it helps us buy some new equipment, helps us upgrade the stuff we already have. So we would be most appreciative if you would like to do that. Last note before we hop into all of this proper, the good folks at Manscaped, you can use our code OUTLAP and get 20% off and free shipping at checkout. Okay, the big story. Not necessarily a surprising story at this point. But Mr. Adrian Newey has now been confirmed at Aston Martin. And the team made an announcement with what I thought looked like a car reveal press conference for a designer. He is not only the most expensive designer ever, but apparently he also gets his own reveal episode, which they did at the Aston Martin factory on Tuesday morning. He will join the team, however. He will not join Aston Martin until March 1 of 2025. However, he was very happy with that, saying, quote, "I am thrilled to be joining the Aston Martin Formula One team," Newey said. "I have been hugely inspired and impressed by the passion and commitment that Lawrence brings to everything he is involved with. Lawrence is determined to create a world-beating team. He is the only majority team owner who is actively engaged in the sport. His commitment is demonstrated in the development of the new AMR Technology Campus and wind tunnel at Silverstone, which are not only state-of-the-art, but have a layout that creates a great environment to work in. Together with great partners like Honda and Aramco, they have all the key pieces of infrastructure needed to make Aston Martin a world championship winning team, and I am very much looking forward to helping achieve that goal." I would say just after viewing this press conference, the tone of it was very much full focus on 2026. So if you have hope for Adrian Newey coming in and working much on the 2025 car, I don't think so. I don't think that's what you're going to see. I think it's going to be full push for 2026. That said, is Newey's brilliance enough to overcome, even with starting in March, a 2-month delay in that 2026 design? This, I think, will be the story that we follow moving forward. Cody, what's your thoughts on Mr. Newey finding a new home?
It is exciting. It's kind of nice, in my opinion, that he's not retiring. He has very celebrated in the Formula One community as being one of the greatest car designers of all time. So it is cool that he is going to another team, and maybe will work some magic and help them go towards the front of the grid. I got to commend Lawrence Stroll for really literally putting his money where his mouth is and dumping gobs of money into whatever he can to make this team succeed. They're, from what I'm seeing, they're paying Adrian Newey a lot of money and pretty much giving him the freedom to do whatever he wants and pretty much make it his home and flourish in his own environment. I guess that's been something he's had difficulty with in the past, where he's left teams because the environment has changed in such a way that he's gotten sidetracked by team politics and what have you. So it sounds like he's going to be really happy with the environment he's going into. That said, he is one person, and although he is widely regarded as being a genius, it does take more than just one person to develop a championship-winning car. But I think he will really help them start going in the right direction. And the thing about somebody like this is he's been in so many successful operations over such a long period of time that he knows what goes into getting the job done. And so I think that will be a really good driving force in Aston Martin and in getting them heading in that direction as being a true championship contender. I do agree with you that it's going to be all 2026 and beyond, though, with him. The fact that he's coming in March, pretty much right around when the season is going to be starting for 2025, he's not going to have any input into the 2025 car, that's going to be launched. I really doubt he's going to have significant input into the development of that car, because Aston Martin's probably just going to chalk up 2025 as a lost season, I guess, in a lot of ways. But I would really expect him to have as much input as he can on the 2026 car, and for them to focus pretty much all of their budget for next year into that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that that's going to be where the push is going to come from. And yeah, I mean, it's a couple months, but it's also Adrian Newey. I mean, they can start the plans, and where I think he has always excelled is coming in and adding the Newey touch to the aero package. And he's definitely going to have enough time in 2025 with that team in order to do that. Even if, for whatever reason, the 2026 car isn't always great at the beginning, I would almost expect them at some point to pull a McLaren and say, here's race 5 and here's the real car, with the Adrian Newey stamp of approval on it, that you're going to see, and maybe it changes their trajectory big time. Definitely looks like it's going to keep Fernando Alonso around for another couple of years. So that is interesting to see. However, I think we're going to have to deal with Lance Stroll being on that team. It does not sound from anywhere that I've read or anything that I have seen that was going to change. So
big shocker.
Yeah, I know. He's just so hard to root for. It's the only part of this that I don't necessarily like. I do like the fact that he's going away from one of the big powerhouse teams into a team that can get lifted up. And the more competitive teams we have at the front, especially going into 2026, the better it's all going to be for F1 across the board. So I'm happy about it for that. It's going to, the interesting thing, because they've given him so much money, that's going to actually, it's going to have to affect the cost cap, because he's not a driver. The driver salaries are exempt. Your chief head designer is not exempt from the cost cap. So
it's like,
going to be interesting to see how they handle that.
It's like the driver and the top several paid, like top 3 paid personnel in the team or something like that. I don't know where he's going to stack in that, but there are, I believe there are a couple slotted exemptions for team personnel. But
if they've done that, then they've pulled a blinder on the rules, and that's actually interesting. But anyway, it's all going to be something we're going to follow. It's not going to be anything. I think we're not going to see the effects of this. Certainly not this season. We're not going to probably see it even next season. But 2026, once those regs get finalized, I'm assuming Adrian's going to be, sifting through those regs, looking for ways to make that car fast. So that is something we shall follow for sure. And speaking of cost cap, we've now had the 2023 results have all been finalized, and I can tell you all 10 Formula One teams have passed the 2023 cost cap without any either material or procedural breaches. There were two, however, engine manufacturers, because this was the first year that we had a cost cap on the engine manufacturers themselves, and two of them were found to have made procedural breaches. So that is Alpine and Honda, on both kind of opposite ends of your power unit spectrum. There you go. Not a whole lot of detail as to what those breaches were necessarily about. However, it does look like the FIA has said we're working it out with both of them. None of them had spent over the limit, so let's make that clear right now. The other part of it was just kind of where they spent, and did they over allocate something to one department versus another. So that is yet to kind of be all resolved, but it looks like the worst case in any of those scenarios would be some sort of a financial fine. You are not going to see any of these breaches for 2023 affect any of the on-track performance. There's going to be no wind tunnel penalties, no point penalties, none of that. We're not even looking at that set of rules here. So kind of a minor, more accounting thing, probably more than anything else. And I suspect as these regulations get more refined moving forward, you'll probably see less of this. But good thing that at least now we don't have anything hanging over this season in terms of nobody has violated the cost cap, everybody was good, and we don't have to talk about it beyond today.
Yep, that is definitely a good thing. It's nice that even though there was procedural breaches, that nobody broke the cost cap. And like you said, since it's the first year that cost cap is being put on the engine manufacturers, you can kind of expect that there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, that stuff like this could happen. And I would think that the FIA would therefore take that and be a little more lenient, I guess. And like you said, I would expect to see this not really happening that much going forward.
Yeah, I'm certainly, I do accounting by day. I don't necessarily want to do it in my Formula One. And I don't particularly want to dive into what cost allocation method one team uses over another. When we had the whole Red Bull kerfuffle, I was the one guy saying, look, this wasn't nearly as bad. They saw breach and everybody went crazy. And I'm like, guys, it's because of U.S. payroll taxes that they wouldn't consider in UK reporting because it's treated differently. And it's all that, but whatever, all done. Dusted. Beyond that, that's already been adjudicated. Red Bull's paid whatever the penalty is. It's over with. And we don't have to talk about it for 23. So this is the last I'm going to do it. We're just going to stop right there. There. Done. Love it. Move on. All right. So we're going to just kind of focus right in on the weekend that is coming at us. We're going to drop our green flag. And so, Cody, tell us about the Baku GP, the Baku City Circuit located in Azerbaijan.
All right. As you said, this weekend we are racing around the Baku City Circuit located in the city of Baku, Azerbaijan. Number of laps around the circuit is 51, and the track length is 6.003 kilometers to 3.73 miles, and consists of 20 turns. I believe that makes it the second longest circuit on this year's calendar. Tire selection from Pirelli for this race is a C3 for the hard, C4 for medium, and C5 for the soft compound. And the track characteristics from Pirelli are a 5 out of 5 for traction, 4 out of 5 for braking, 1 out of 5 for lateral load, 3 out of 5 for tire stress, 5 out of 5 for track evolution, 2 out of 5 for asphalt grip, a 1 out of 5 for asphalt abrasion, and a 2 out of 5 for downforce. Qualifying lap record here goes to Is that Valtteri Bottas or Charles Leclerc for that one?
It is. It is not a hyphenated Bottas Leclerc. It is Charles Leclerc.
All right. It is not a tie down to the thousandth of a second. Its lap record is going to go to Charles Leclerc, set in 2023 for 1 minute, 40.203 seconds. And the race lap record also goes to Charles Leclerc, but set 4 years before that in 2019. And that was a 1 minute, 43.009 seconds. The Baku City Circuit is pretty new, so we haven't had a ton of races here to go towards the most wins. In fact, we've only had one repeat winner here, and that is Sergio Perez, the lone driver with 2 wins here around Baku. There is a 5-way tie with 1 win apiece between Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo, and Nico Rosberg. And only 2 constructors have won around this circuit so far. We've got 4 wins for Red Bull and 3 wins for Mercedes. And I've got a feeling we might be adding somebody else this weekend. What's the circuit like, Mindy?
It is a mixture of the wide open and the tight and twisty all in the same track. There is the long, and it is the longest main straight on the calendar along the Baku shoreline. It's a slipstreaming mecca with cars able to run at times 3 abreast into turn 1. The action often can sometimes look more like an IndyCar race rather than F1. However, from there, the track loops around into the city's narrow, winding Old Town, dramatically winding past Baku's medieval city walls. As in Monaco, slightest mistakes through this section are punished quickly and severely, while setup-wise, teams will often be forced to choose between downforce for the twisty bits and less drag for the straight parts. As for the weather, it's warm and sunny here in Chicago. It's going to be warm and sunny in Baku as well this weekend. Interesting how that works, considering they're literally halfway across the globe. For qualifying, it'll be sunshine and clouds mixed with a high of 82 degrees. Winds will be out of the northeast at 10 to 20, so gusty winds. Watch for that. A 19% chance of rain, but that is only going to be a passing shower, if anything. As for the race on Sunday, sunny skies, high near 80, as good as you'd like to get. Winds out of the northeast at 10 to 20. Again, watch out for the winds. We'll see what that does. A scant 1% chance of rain on Sunday. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We will re-rack. We will come back, and we're going to get into our predictions. And God help me, I got to do better than last time. Can only be up from last time. Anything's better than nothing. So we'll come back. We'll get into that, and we'll see where we're going. And then we'll tell you when and where to watch your F1. Set your alarm clocks early this weekend, folks. Welcome back in. This is Season 6, Episode number 34 of the Outlet F1 Podcast. It's our 2024 Azerbaijan Grand Prix preview show. You've got Andy and I'm along with Cody tonight. We just looked at the latest news and took a look at the track we'll be racing on this weekend. And now it is time for our Choose Your Champion predictions game, where we try to take our shots at what we think might happen over the course of this weekend. Lord knows I have to do better than last time. I think it's the first time I've ever been shut out. Max Verstappen not being the lock for pole makes this a lot more interesting, if nothing else. And that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with that pole sitter. Cody, what you got here? Do we have Max redemption or more Max pain or a new contender in the mix here? What you got?
I actually kind of wish for Max redemption. I keep reminding everyone that I am a fan, but even though I never wear the Red Bull hat at the moment, but I'm definitely a fan. But I am riding the Charles Leclerc high after the unexpected victory in Monza. So I'm actually taking a long shot on this one, and I'm going to say Charles Leclerc is going to get pole for Azerbaijan.
All right, very good. I think that's actually a pretty logical pick. He's either seems to be always in contention for pole around there, or it's dramatic moment for Charles Leclerc.
He is good here, for sure.
Yes, yeah. I think that is a good pick. However, I'm going to go full homer, and I'm going to say this is where Lando will make his first attempt to come back after last race. So I will give this one to Lando Norris on 1 lap pace. I think that McLaren car is really good over 1 lap. It seems to be over the course of the race where the tires were not as kind to them as they thought they would be. So definitely over 1 lap pace. I like that. So Lando Norris for pole for me. All right. So our lap time last year was set by, I believe, Charles Leclerc with a 1:40.203. That was the new qualifying lap record. Do we see that record get eclipsed? Cody, what you got for a lap time here?
I do think we are going to go a little faster this year. It does seem to be the trend for these cars. I am going to go in at about a half a second faster, I think, at a 1:39.742. I always just kind of make up the hundredths and thousandths because I feel like there's no sense in me trying to guess an extra hundredth here or there. And, maybe one of these years I'll get it smack on.
We've gotten close. Yes, there have been ones where we've gotten to the thousandths a couple of times. But I do think we're going to see possibly a new track record here as well. So I've got a 1:39.995.
Nice.
Right. So we will now get into our podium predictions. Last year's podium, boy, it's hard to believe this is last year's podium given the current form of everybody. Sergio Perez was P1. Max Verstappen was P2. Charles Leclerc, there he is again, came home in P3. Cody, what is your thought on the race podium for this race?
And looking at that podium from last year makes you realize just how quickly everything can change. Now, you're looking at, you can see on the screen here what we've got. I have a decided lack of Lando Norris on the podium. And I have a little bit of a prediction to go with that. My prediction is that it's going to be, for P1, 2, 3, it's going to be Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, and Max Verstappen. I have a feeling that after what happened at the last race, Lando Norris is going to be steaming a little bit. And he's going to be going into this thinking, like, I have to prove myself as the leader of this team. And he's going to be a little reckless. And this is not a great track to be a little reckless at. It has some very tight spots, some very tight, difficult turns that don't fit a lot of cars. And he is, I hate to say it, notoriously not the greatest on lap 1. So I am predicting some Lando Norris damage on lap 1, and I think that's going to screw over his race, unfortunately.
Well, as they say, that's why they play the game. We will see. You make a lot of logical sense. There is certainly, you have support behind your prediction there. I also hope you are also very wrong.
Me too.
But, we'll see. If there is more McLaren drama, of course, we will cover it like we always do. We will talk about it, and we will figure out what they could have done better, what Lando could have done better, if that's the case. However, I'm not going there. I'm going to say full homer here. I think this is where, if we're going to have any chance of a championship, it has to come here. It's got to be here. So I do want to predict it because I do want to see a championship, despite my rant last time out, where I was saying they shouldn't do the team orders bit. I do want to see a championship. I want them to get to that point where it is close enough to really get behind a driver in Lando Norris and go full in on a Drivers' World Championship. So I'm going to say he gets it done here in Azerbaijan with hopefully the quickest car. But I do think who is chasing him is going to be different. That Ferrari pace in Monza, this is a track that's pretty close to that. So I think along the straights, they're going to stick with him. I think Lando's going to have to earn it. It might be one of those he loses it on lap 1 and has to go get it back later type races. Let's see. It's always drama-filled when Lando's in the mix. Let's put it that way. But I got Charles Leclerc coming home in P2. And I think this Red Bull pain is real. I mean, they're all saying it. Sergio Perez is saying it. Everybody who's smart that I read seems to be saying this is a real thing. So I don't even have a Red Bull on the podium. I can't believe I'm saying that. But I've got George Russell coming home in P3 as well. So Norris, Leclerc, Russell. All right, so we will now go into our fastest lap and the driver. The 2023 fastest lap was set by that aforementioned George Russell, a 1:43.370. Cody, what you got here for fastest lap, and who you got making it?
I agree with you that Ferrari's pace after Monza is good, and so I think they're going to be pretty fast during the race here. I've got Carlos Sainz setting the fastest lap of the race, and I've got it at just about the same time as last year. I'm going with a 1:43.400.
All right, very good. I also have a Ferrari, but I've got the other one. I think Charles Leclerc will probably pip this fastest lap. Maybe even on the last lap, it might come down to one of those types of things. So I've got Charles Leclerc setting it a 1:43.100, slightly faster than you there. All right, so we will now move into our bonus picks. And I have selected, since I have the distinctive honor of being dead last, so I'm going to go P6, P7, P8 for the bonus picks this time. And I'll go first with this one. I can't have that, can I? I can't do both. Cody, go first.
You could double dip.
No, I'm not going to do that. Hang on. Hold, please. But go ahead. Make yours.
Sure. So the 6, 7, 8 is kind of an interesting one because it's like kind of the end of those, top 4 teams where you might get someone sneaking in if someone has an off day. I don't think that's going to happen this time, though. I think Sergio Perez, obviously tends to run well here. He's, got 2 wins around the circuit. He likes it here. I think he will show better this week, but not great. So I think Perez is going to slot into 6th. And then I think it's going to be the 2 Mercedes, George Russell in 7th and Lewis Hamilton in 8th.
All right. Interesting selection there. I do think this could be one of those Mercedes going to be right on the border of either they're in the really good, the elite group, or they're slightly just off that little bit still. That seems to be where they've been. And I wonder if it's going to come down to car setup and individual driver preference. So I've got Russell obviously on the podium. I somehow also had Russell in P6. I can't do that. He cannot divide against himself. But I will split the Mercedes here. So I will say Lewis Hamilton for P6, Sergio Perez to be the last of the big 7 yet again. And I'm going to give Alex Albon. I think that Williams in a straight line, they looked really good in Monza. I think they could do really well here. This is where they always seem to punch above their weight. I can remember was it Valtteri Bottas or somebody driving for Williams getting on almost a podium, or maybe it was George Russell when he was there in one of the years. But I may be horribly wrong on my memory there, but I'll have to go back and check. But anyway, I like Williams here for P8 to get some solid points for those guys. And for our prop bet this weekend, we have not seen a yellow flag or a safety car for a long time in Formula One. It's all the way back to Canada since the last time we've seen either the Mercedes red or the Aston Martin green safety car do laps that actually matter in Formula One. So will we see that aforementioned safety car? Does the safety car streak end this weekend? It's probably as good of a candidate as any. Cody, what you got here?
I agree with you. I'm going to say, yes, we are going to break this no safety car streak because this track has some tight, windy bits, and it seems like something always goes down here. Although, come to think of it, I think last year's race was kind of oddly boring. Normally something weird happens here. I think we're going to go back to that, though. I do think we are going to see the safety car.
It's a very interesting time of the year for this race on the calendar. It is now Azerbaijan in the fall. Mm-hmm. We've normally always done this either early in the spring or kind of when they're in their summer. So now it's coming at the end of the European season, makes it a little more interesting for me. So we'll have to see. It looks like the weather's going to be warmer than it typically has been the last couple of years. That might make the tires a little bit more greasy. And I think that leads to a safety car. I think we're going to see one at Castle Section. If everybody gets through that again, well, then these are the 20 best drivers in the world, and they minded their P's and Q's and did it again. which they very well might do, and the teams may all want them to at this point, given what it costs to rebuild a car. But but I do think we're going to have it here. And if we're not going to have it here, we're definitely going to have one in Singapore. I think that record is 100% across the board every year. I think they've seen a safety car in Singapore. So, so I'm going to give this one yes to we will see the safety car less streak end. All right. And when and where to watch your F1 this weekend. And if you are a fan of your alarm clock, it's going to get a workout. FP1 bright and early. It will still be dark out when most of these sessions are happening here in the US. 5:30 a.m. Eastern. You can catch that on ESPN2 or F1 TV. FP2, 9 a.m. Eastern. So not that normal time right in the middle of my normal conference call. So I may actually get to watch FP2 this weekend. That'll be on ESPN2. FP3, bright and early. 4:30 a.m. Eastern. Kevin Kelly and I can go do our thing where we thought we were the only two people up at 3 o'clock in the morning watching free practice. ESPN2 is your home for that. Qualifying will happen 8 a.m. Eastern. That is also ESPN2. And the race itself, 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Central, lights out, which means your pre-race starts about 5 a.m. Yikes. Happy early Sunday morning, Formula One. 7 a.m. Eastern is the kickoff. That's when the lights will go out. You can find that on main ESPN channel. And, of course, F1 TV if you have a subscription. And I would highly recommend that you do. All right, Cody, any final thoughts as we look forward to this next round? Azerbaijan awaits, the castle section, all the twisty bits, and that long straightaway. What's your thought on this race?
This is one of those races that looks really cool on TV with all like the kind of classic, like the castle section, like you're saying, the classic architecture and stuff like that. It is a nice looking circuit through a nice looking city. And it's one of those weird circuits where you look at the layout and it looks really oddball. Like there's just way too many like 90-degree angles in this circuit, but it turns out to usually make for a pretty good race anyway. So I am looking forward to it. Hopefully it's more exciting than last year where, Perez and Max just kind of romp away with it. But I think it should be all right. And then just a little follow-up on something from our last show. I did ask the question when when was the last time a driver won the Drivers' Championship and finished, or the Constructors. Let me restart this because I got so tongue-tied there. When was the last time a driver won the Drivers' Championship and their team finished outside the top two for the Constructors? There we go. And as it turns out, I did do the research for anybody who likes trivia out there. Turns out it's only ever happened twice, and it was in back-to-back years. 1982, Keke Rosberg won the Drivers' Championship, and his team Williams finished fourth in the Constructors. And then the following year, Nelson Piquet won the Drivers' Championship, and his team Brabham finished third. So that's the only two times it's happened. So it's been over 40 years, and it's very possible we could see that with Max Verstappen winning the driver's title and Red Bull finishing outside the top two. So, yeah, just anyone who likes trivia out there. I'm a big trivia buff, so I thought it was a little fun doing the research on that.
Now that I've actually listened to your question, I should have answered it better. I just heard driver and constructor not in top two, and that's why I thought Lewis Hamilton with McLaren the year they got kicked out. But no, you are correct. He did not win the championship that year. That was 2007. That was the Alonso year. That was the year he beached it in China and let Kimi Räikkönen back in. And then that happened. And then Brazil did not go well for him. Yes, the rest was history. And then he redeemed himself in 2008 with that epic race when the rain started and all of that. And the career of when Lewis Hamilton was off and running after that point. But so this is always one of those interesting races. We do have an F2 on the docket this weekend as well. It's the IndyCar finale in Nashville. We will see if Alex Palou basically starts the race. He pretty much wins the championship, but it's an oval race, the last race of the year. Everybody else is going to be going flat out to try to take a race win. So lots of stories up and down the IndyCar paddock as well this weekend. And if you're into American football, it's week 2 of the NFL. So there's also that all there for you. But you get your F1 fix out of the way early, or you can sleep in and watch it on demand. I mean, that's the thing. You are in control there. But we will hopefully be back either Sunday night or maybe Monday, because speaking of American football, the local team will be playing when we're normally recording. So we shall see when we will actually get our review done. Do tend to want to watch that, because that's usually compelling. It's the two things that kind of make me really emotional. Formula One in the morning and then the NFL at night. So people will think I'm crazy all day long in this building. But, however, that's how we roll. So we will figure out when exactly we're going to get that to you, but we'll definitely do a recap of the Azerbaijan race. And then we've got a back-to-back as we then go from here to Singapore. So lots of F1 stuff happening. We will be all there for it all of the time. For Cody, it's Andy. Enjoy this race weekend. We'll catch you on the back end. And as always, may all your laps be fast.